Welcome to the Top Dog Mindset Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of running a successful dog training business. I'm your host, Kevin, joined by my co-host, Angel. Together, we bring you expert insights, inspiring stories, and practical tips. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, we're here to provide you with the necessary information to build a thriving dog training company. So relax, join us with a cup of coffee as we explore the Top Dog Mindset Podcast.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Top Dog Mindset Podcast. Kevin and Angel here, and today we have a topic that is coming from a phone call I actually did with one of our clients the other day, and I was thinking about the conversation afterwards and how this could be a really helpful topic for us to discuss here, and I think some other people can get some value out of. And so, Angel, you had been wanting to talk about the idea of like mindset in your business of being an employee versus being a business owner. And I feel like this ties in really well with that. So I was having a conversation the other day with somebody, and it kind of registered with me that, we were still kind of running their marketing and, the same marketing strategies that and systems and processes that we were when we first started working with them. And, here we are years later. And I think you need to think about, when it comes to your systems, your processes, your marketing, your hires in your business, not necessarily even in like, where am I at today and what's appropriate for today, but also about hiring for or building for where I want to go to. And so I think that what I mean by this is, if you grow your business from $0 a month to 10K a month, and you've done that off of one client acquisition system and spending, say, $1,000 a month on Google Ads, right? And you're stuck and you're like, why can I not get up to 50K a month? I've had some good months where I've done 15 or 20K. I've even done $25,000, but it's not consistent. And I'm certainly not like getting up to that point of like $50,000 or $100,000 if I want to get there. And I think that the really easy thing to overlook is that you're not getting there because you're still doing the same thing and implementing the same exact strategy that was able to take you from 0 to 10K a month. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that same exact strategy is going to get you from 10K to 50K a month, So I'd love to hear your opinion on that. And I know you were talking about the whole employee versus owner mindset. So I'd like to kind of weave that in here and just kind of, the mindset between all or behind all of this. So why don't you kind of just give me your feedback on that and what your thoughts are on that?
Yeah, well, what my idea stemmed from was a recent group coaching call that we had where a lot of our clients were talking about, it was kind of like a group discussion where we're talking about, following up with leads and re-engaging with old leads and sending out review requests, I think is one of the things that we were talking about too, and how people often feel like a hesitancy to do that to a certain extent because they don't want to come off as being like too pushy or annoying or anything like that. And in that same conversation, we had one of our clients who has a newer employee who I think from what I can remember just has been slacking a little bit. And so that was one of the recommendations was like having this person just follow up with tons of leads. And that's kind of like where this came from for me, is because as a business owner, especially if you are a business where it's like just you're wearing all the hats, you don't have any employees or anything like that. Like you are working for yourself, you are telling yourself what to do. And so if you have this mindset of like, oh, if I follow up with this person more than 2 times, or if I try re-engaging with this person, even though they're the ones who ghosted me, or I've already asked them for a review and they said they would leave one, like I don't want to keep asking. When you have that kind of mindset, like, yes, it's going to hold you back. And if you think of it from you being an employee, like think about it from that perspective. Like you are telling yourself what to do, owner to employee. And if you're telling yourself like, I need to do this, I need to follow up with all of these leads, like, yeah, it might seem annoying. Out of a list of 50 leads, I might have 2 people that get annoyed by me, but I have to do it because that's my job. That's what I got to do. And I feel like more often than not, people don't kind of like put it into that perspective. It's just, again, you're a one-man show, you're working for yourself. And so it's easy to just base everything off of like your own mindset and this one perspective that you've had for the longest time. So that's where all of this came from. But another way that I think this can kind of manifest for people as far as like wanting to grow, but constantly getting held up and feeling like they just like physically can't, is the whole hiring thing. I mean, I have a client of ours who I've been talking pretty frequently about this recently. is like wanting to grow, wanting to be able to, um, bring in more dogs and do more consultations and sales and, so many plans. And even, I'm pretty sure even like outgrowing their current facility, physically just not having the space for things in the facility or even on his schedule. And so, really, the only thing to do at this point is to hire someone to be able to take that load off. So that way, that person can take over this and that. And then you can focus more on doing more sales and all that kind of stuff. So, that is one of the things that, from what I've noticed, tends to be like a very common thing with people kind of like getting held up and growing, aside from, actual marketing and expanding that and expanding like different ways that they're getting leads and stuff like that, is just not having the manpower to be able to handle all of it and then being able to grow from there.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, you can start a business, and talking about the employee versus business owner mindset, you can start a business and actually grow a business to a certain point, still kind of having the employee mindset. So what I mean by that is like, you don't really, you're not, you are a business owner with one employee in the business, and you are the employee in the business.
Hmm.
And so it's like you're kind of like both. You're the business owner, but you're doing absolutely everything yourself. And a business is not just one person. A business is like an entity, excuse me, that has like a bunch of different really good systems and processes and people working inside of it that make it go.
Hmm.
And so this is not a criticism of anybody who is just doing everything themselves. Like, I started this company that way and other businesses that way. And there's a period of time where you're probably going to have to start it that way, where you do everything yourself. But it's not supposed to stay like that forever. And you need to grow beyond that. And, is that you're not going to be able to get to these upper echelon of numbers if that's what you want. If your goal is to stay where you are, you're making 10, 15, 20 grand a month and you're happy doing it all yourself, you've already won the lottery and this message is not for you. But if you're somebody who wants to get up to $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month, and you're trying to do it off of the same ad spend that you set your budget at 3 years ago, and you're trying to do it off of just, you know, sheer willpower and working harder and doing it all yourself, if you're not getting the results that you want, it's because you don't have the systems and the people to get the desire or to get the desired outcome that you actually want.
Yeah, exactly. And we have a lot of clients who do like work completely by themselves and they are amazing at it. Like they're handling every once in a while they need a little pep talk on, how to take it easy, take some time off because we know that all of that can lead you to burnout, but like they're doing a fantastic job. But like you said, like some people that is what they want. Like some people when they start a business, they have this vision of growing, to where they're making 100 grand a month or they have this giant team and they want to have a facility or multiple facilities or anything like that. And then there's other people who their vision is more so just being like a smaller home base, like still very successful, but goals totally the same. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with not wanting to get to the same end goal as other people, but it's also about like being realistic about like number one, what is currently going on in your business and like are you able to handle all of that? And if not, like where do you need to make adjustments to make sure that it fits all of that in order for you to still make sure that you are able to handle everything, you're still making profit and you're also not just like working yourself into the ground, and reaching a point of burnout to where all of this work that you're doing ends up not truly being worth it based on the profit that you're getting.
Yeah, and I think these conversations always go back to hiring, and that is because people are trying to figure out a solution to a problem, and largely what that solution always boils down to is you can't do everything yourself.
Mhm.
So, you know, I think you need to also be honest with yourself because sometimes people settle at a certain point in their business and they start telling themselves lies, frankly, where they're like, "Oh, I don't even care about growing this business anymore. It seemed having employees would just be annoying, or I like doing everything myself." And it's like some of that is true, but I've heard that from people that I just know that's not actually true for you. And I think that what you're doing is you don't know how to take it to the next level. And because that's really uncomfortable and you just don't know what to do next, you start telling yourself things like that because it's easier just to say that than just face the reality of like, there's a skill gap here and it's really uncomfortable to bridge that gap. And, just to kind of dive into that for a second, I think that is really the crux of a lot of struggling businesses is there's a skill gap and people don't necessarily know what to do next, or they don't want to go through that really uncomfortable period of like, maybe I hire somebody and maybe it works out. Maybe I hire somebody and it doesn't work out. And then I have to deal with that and I lose money and I have to fire somebody now and all that stuff. But the truth is, there's no way around that. There's only just going through it. And you'll find good people, you'll find people that don't work. And by the end of it, like, yeah, you're going to have to do some difficult decision making. But by the end of it, you end up with a really good team and something that you're much happier with. And I just think that for a lot of us, if you really think about what it is that you want out of life, I think a lot of people want freedom. And when you're a business owner, it can really strip you of your freedom if you're not careful. And so the only way that you can get your freedom back and accomplish two things at once, having a successful company and having freedom, is by having, again, systems and processes and people in place that can share the workload and can share the burden. And it's just a community effort. And if you try and do everything yourself for the remainder of time, that's just how you get yourself to a point where you feel like you need to just take 3 months off.
Yeah, exactly. And there's other things that there's options there if you don't have someone to answer the phone, or, there's even people who are trying to just like get into AI as much as possible. So there are options there, but absolutely nothing compares to like actually having a team of human beings that are going to help run your business. Like I said, there's AI options there, but like the quality in the conversations that you end up having with people, or the outcomes that end up coming from those leads that are coming in, like it sounds good in theory, but even think about it from like just like our experience. You talk to someone on the phone and you have just like a team of robots. Like there's literally not a single human being that you can talk to. And then next thing you know, you're just like screaming at the phone to talk to a human being. Not saying that anyone is getting to that point, but I know that that tends to be something that people want to look into because they're like, oh, that's easy. I can just have like, another automation to like, feed people through the pipeline and stuff like that. And again, it's good in theory and those options are there. But at the end of the day, like having an actual human being to talk to someone who is in such an emotional state because their dog just pissed them off and they need someone now to hear them out and like find someone to help, that goes much further.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. On the automation side of things, I think people they lose touch with the fact that, for me, how would I feel if I was like, calling a company and I was just getting bounced around from, automated representative to automated representative? I'm like, this is annoying. It
Hmm.
just is. And I think everybody who's listening to this could agree with that. And, when we run our own businesses, we get so burnt out and we're just like, well, I'll just automate it. And it's like, from your side, you think that's a brilliant idea, but on the consumer side, they're like, oh, here's just another business that just is just like trying to automate things. And, it's like, I just want to talk to a real human being.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating, human psychology, where like, as we move into this day and age of more automation and I think that people are going to be craving more and more like real human beings. Like, I don't
Hmm.
think it's going to have the direct impact that people think it's going to. And the
Hmm.
other thing that you need to think about too is like, AI is coming for your job or whatever, but it's like it takes a long time for Main Street America to adopt stuff like this and become okay with it. If you're calling Apple, you're like, oh yeah, it makes sense that there's like AI involved here. You're calling
Hmm.
the local like handyman and he's got like AI. You're like, Steve, why do you have AI answering your phone now?
Yeah.
Like, I want to talk to you. I've known you for 30 years.
Hmm.
So I just think that, adoption takes longer too than people think it might. I always forget the exact dates on this, but it's like Blu-ray and DVDs existed for so much longer than people realized. Like, people didn't really like adopt them until like the mid 2000s or 2010s and stuff like that. And by then it got phased out by like streaming, but it's like they existed in like the 90s. And so it's not like something like comes online and like DVDs replace VHS overnight. It's like it takes time for people to get acclimated and realize like, okay, the DVD exists, but I still have a VHS player,
Hmm.
and I'm not going to go out and buy a DVD player overnight. And so I don't know if any of this is making sense, but what I'm saying is like, just because we think it's a good idea and it'll make our lives easier doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be best for the consumer and what's going to make the consumer's life easier.
I had a VHS player up until like 2019.
And you were using it?
I was using it.
Wow. That means
Yep.
you have VHS as well. What movies do you have on VHS?
Like a lot of Disney movies, all the movies basically from when I was a kid.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I was that person that used it as long as possible. I had a VHS player for longer than I had my DVD player.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, be one of those people. Use humans in your business for as long as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's human nature that people want to talk to humans, you know?
Yeah.
It's the same, like, there's more value in talking to a human being than there is talking to a machine. It's the same reason why it's the same reason why, like, Elvis Presley's guitar is on display in Graceland, and it's worth millions of dollars, right? Even if it's not signed, right? It's just a guitar that Elvis held and played.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, it's a Fender guitar. They made, 500,000 other versions of, exact replicas of that guitar when it was made. Why are none of those as valuable as that one? It's like, well,
Hmm.
that one's special and holds more meaning, you know? And so I just think that, like, in a world where we're starting to commoditize this and, trying to phase out human beings, the ones that are going to hold more value and, yeah, just be more intrinsically valuable than the one down the street are the people who can have human to human connections.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can remember like so many people when I was still training, so many people who mentioned that whenever I would answer the phone or call them back or whatever, one of the first things they said was like, "I'm just glad I was able to finally talk to someone," or "Thank you so much for actually answering the phone," or "Thank you for calling me back." Or even if I called them like 2 or 3 times, on that 3rd time, they're still thanking me. They're like, "I apologize. I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off and finally we finally got in touch." Like people appreciate that. There's going to be someone who does complain every so often, but the majority of people appreciate that. And I was actually talking to a client of ours yesterday, I believe it was, and we're talking about this some of the similar stuff as far as like manually reaching out to people, following up with them, re-engaging and stuff like that. And the perspective that I gave is like, and I think I mentioned this earlier on, right, where like it's just about having a different perspective, like in this case, employee versus owner, but like I'm the type of person where if I do some type of like, let's say, consult with someone for really any service. I remember this one before I moved. I had to reach out to someone who worked with chimneys because I needed to get like a chimney inspection. I called a few different people. Most of them didn't answer. One of them did. And I was still calling around to like find different people. But there was this one person that like texted me to follow up and called me to follow up. And other people, they didn't do that. And I also remember there was one guy who was like, "Oh, I'll check my schedule and, I'll shoot you a text to let you know what I have available." And it's like, even with that, like, I'm the type of person who would be like, "Oh, they didn't follow up with me. They must not want my business that bad." Like, could I have called them back to be like, "Yes, I want to schedule an appointment"? Could I have called them back and be like, "Hey, I, am interested"? Like, yeah, I could have done that. But the stubborn part of me was like, he must not need my business that much if he couldn't just like schedule me or couldn't like follow up or something like that. And I have felt that way in a lot of different situations. And then there's other people who would get totally annoyed at someone following back up. And they would be the
Hmm.
type of person where it's like, leave me alone. If I'm interested, I will call you back. So it really just
Right.
depends on like the type of person you are. But I don't think that the type of person that you are naturally should get in the way of how you handle your business and how you re-engage with people and follow up with people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. I've had people say that to me, like clients of ours, where they're like, well, I just feel like if somebody were to keep calling me, that I would get annoyed. And it's not that your feelings are invalid, but what you need to keep in mind with this stuff is like you're a case study of one. And what I think making a decision, like a wholesale business decision based off of what Kevin thinks, is almost kind of irrelevant because
Mhm.
I could be the outlier. I could be the one where it's like, okay, dude, that's your weird own like emotions and thoughts and past life experiences that you're caught up in, but no one else really feels that way.
Mhm.
and most people are happy when you follow up with them. And even if somebody every once in a while tells you to go kick rocks and leave me alone, I'm not interested. It's like, okay, what am I going to do? Like not follow up with my leads? That's the alternative,
Yeah. Yeah.
So like if that's the alternative and you just realize like, I want to grow my business, then what do? You follow up with your leads.
Yeah, like, I just imagine if, like, one of those chimney guys called me back to follow up, and then I got annoyed, and then he decides to change his entire business model and not follow up with anyone more than once, all because of me, all because of this one person that, told him to go kick rocks.
Yeah, and people do this all the time, by the way. Like, I talk to
Mhm,
people who I'm like, "Do you offer, like, payment plans, like, in-house financing to your clients?" They're like, "No, no, no, I don't do that because, I would get screwed, or I got screwed one time with that." I'm like, "Oh, well, what happened?" "Well, it wasn't actually me. It was like another trainer I spoke to." Well, it was actually, like, a trainer that, like, someone else knows, and they told me this happened. And I'm like, "You completely made your decision off of, like, offering in-house financing or payment plans or sales or you know, doing Facebook ads or Google ads off of like somebody who may know somebody's, third cousin once removed, like it's irrelevant. You need
mhm,
to go and figure out for yourself what actually is the truth and what works because just basing it off of something like that is totally anecdotal and frankly kind of just a poor decision, in your business.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so I just think that like, this conversation, we started out with kind of talking about a different topic here, but we've obviously kind of moved into a different direction here. But at the end of the day, I think the main takeaway for this call that I really want everyone to kind of think about if you're listening to this is like, what are the things that you're doing today that are the same exact things that you were doing 3 years ago when you started the business. And maybe it's time to make a change, right? Or
mhm,
maybe not even make a change, but just be more aggressive. A very simple version of this could be like, I want to get to $50,000 a month, but I just keep hitting this ceiling. And it's like, well, is your Google Ads budget exactly what it was 3 years ago? Did you set it at $1,200 or $1,000 a month and never touch it? It's like you want to get to $50,000 a month. Maybe you need to be spending 3 or 4K a month on ads. No,
mhm,
maybe you need to diversify into Facebook and Google, and you need to revamp your email marketing, text message marketing, your Google business profile. Like, there's going to be different things that are required of you to get to, the destination you want to get to now versus the destination you were trying to reach back in 2023,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So with that being said, we're going to wrap things up here. But I found this conversation very helpful with our client. And I know this was good to be able to talk about this with you, Angel. So we're going to wrap things up. But as always, we appreciate you guys supporting us and listening to the podcast. So if there's ever anything you want from us or you want to hear from us, just let us know and we can make sure to make it happen. All right, guys. See you all very soon in the next one. Bye.
Bye, guys.